access to finance and digital technologies. Hence, our first webinar in this regard is being hosted virtually. And today I want to encourage you to use up the emojis, support us. Let us know that you're benefiting. So your right finger should be on those buttons and encouraging. And I know that at the end of this session, we would have assimilated a number of steps and know-hows. And we have some very interesting people with us today. These are persons who have made their mark. These are persons who are pragmatic, which means that they have walked the walk. I also want to say all protocols observed, and that I want to recognize the presence of our Executive Director, Dr. Donald Powell Wilson, as well as our speaker, Mrs. Sabrina Mcdonald Radcliffe, along with other members of our staff that will be speaking with you this morning. We also have online our Curriculum Development Officer, Mrs. Shanique Walker-Carty, as well as the man who is behind this project, Mr. Jason McIntosh. And without any further ado, I'll invite Mr. McIntosh to give you the welcome and overview. And remember, you need to give him that round of applause. We're using our emojis, we're online, and we're very cognizant of what the virtual space presents. So let me see those applause in the form of your emojis. Mr. McIntosh, our Assistant Curriculum Development Officer, Project Lead, will now take our welcome and overview. Let us welcome him to our platform. Mr. McIntosh.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Gray-Dwyer. And let me just use this opportunity to apologize for a late start this morning. We were having a bit of issue. And so as a result of that, that's the reason why we are just getting a chance to start. And so as Mrs. Gray-Dwyer would have mentioned earlier, today we are assisting young women, young people to build their personal brand. And so I want to take this opportunity to welcome all of you to this platform. And it is my hope that you would, or rather that you will, at the end of being here, would have benefited what we would present to you. So effective media relation is really an important variable that often impacts personal branding and the achievements of set targets. So building a strong personal brand, it takes more than just a nice profile picture or a witty tagline. It is what you stand for, the package of character traits and capabilities that make you who you are, expressed in a way that others can understand right away. So even when you aren't consciously projecting your brand, others are experiencing you as a package of traits and capabilities. And so in this webinar, we hope that you will learn how to craft and to develop a captivating profile and content that reverberate with your targeted audience. So we hope that you will build or increase your brand awareness and engagement through understanding really what it means, what personal branding means, communicating a consistent, powerful, and authentic voice in the online world, and also to effectively utilize these digital marketing tools and strategies across all digital platforms. And we've seen in times gone by, ladies and gentlemen, that people at one point used to make use of the newspaper to market themselves. They would make posters and so forth, but things have changed. The advancements in science and technology has basically revolutionized how we do things. And so we're living in an online world, And it's not just to just have a good profile on Facebook or Instagram. These are good tools or potent tools that you can use to build yourself as an individual, to effectively market your craft. And so that's the reason why we're here today. And so I want to use this opportunity to welcome you and to tell you thanks for having joined us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. McIntosh. So we are now au fait with the intricacies of this project, and might I say, exciting times ahead. I mean, we're still the same girl with the same name, just a different mindset and a better game. And what other place to be a part of this revolution than to celebrate with us at the CCCJ for our 20th anniversary. Let us now invite our Executive Director, Dr. Donna Powell Wilson, to give greetings. Dr. Wilson. Let us keep those applause going. So it's your index finger and you're on the reaction button. We need to be au fait with our new technologies. And as girl bosses, we have to be cognizant of the virtual space because it presents an opportunity for us to interface with the global markets that are here to increase our possibilities. So let us keep those emojis going. I'm seeing them, Diana. And it's an interactive session. So like I said, feel free to use up those emojis. Dr. Powell Wilson.
Good morning, Mrs. Dwyer. Are you? Okay, great. Thank you very much, Mrs. Gray Dwyer, for leading in this session this morning. Good morning to our participants. I see where we have 23 persons on now. I just want to use this opportunity to say welcome to the CCCJ. On behalf of our Chairman of Council, Dr. Orville Beckford, the Secretariat's team, Council members, a warm welcome to you all on this, our Girl Boss Day. We are indeed happy to create another opportunity to empower our girls or women in our community colleges, multidisciplinary institutions, and polytechnic colleges. As you create your personal brand, I encourage you to define who you are. You must believe in yourself before others can believe in you. If you do not, then people will not fully value your skills, your expertise, your time, and your potential. We're all unique. Do not sell yourself short, ladies, by second guessing the value you bring or doubting your ability to lead yourself and others to greater heights of success. Be adaptable. As a result of your openness to change, you will be able to celebrate small and big milestones. Do not be afraid to do things differently. You have been doing so since 2020. Ladies, I want to encourage you also to think big. We have to think big before we can be big. We have to think bigger before we can get bigger. Too often, though, we set our sights too low, aiming only of what we think we have a good chance of achieving. Today, you will be empowered not to limit yourself, but to be your own boss, to create your own opportunities. I would also like to use this opportunity to thank Mr. Jason McIntosh, the team lead on this project. Thank you, Mr. McIntosh, for coordinating this activity, and also to the curriculum team who are leading this session today. I pray that you will have a successful event. Thank you.
And thank you, Dr. Powell Wilson. And the one word that is standing out is the empowerment, and I'm empowered today. All right, so let us give our ED a thumbs up because she understood the assignment. She's in her pink. When you talk about girl boss, the girl boss represents, in her outlook. So give her a thumbs up for the pink. I see it and I cannot ignore it. And so we're going to move right into our session 1. And we have, speaking to us on personal branding and how to leverage it, Mrs. Sabrina Mcdonald Radcliffe. But before she comes to the virtual platform, I'll give you a synopsis of her profile. We would have looked into all the persons who represents the cadre of women who depict this girl boss to which we speak. Sabrina Mcdonald Radcliffe believes that one should live like your life depends on it. And this has guided her through her multi-layered professional life as marketing communicator, writer, producer, actress, and director. Sabrina Mcdonald Radcliffe is an award-winning scriptwriter, poet, songwriter, and actress with over 70 awards, including the 2003 Prime Minister Youth Award for Arts and Culture and 4 Actor Boy Awards for songwriting and composition between 2013 and 2014, along with being a producer and director who creates for stage and screen. She's a marketing executive who has developed numerous successful marketing communications campaigns. As head of sales, marketing, and corporate communications for the Lake Group of companies, she drives marketing strategy, sales, and promotional programs in Jamaica, Trinidad, and Barbados for the brands Burger King, Popeyes, and Little Caesars Pizza. She also leads communication for the wider group of companies, which spans the industries of construction, real estate, manufacturing, and distribution. A communications consultant for more than 15 years, Sabrina has conceptualized and produced various behavior change communication campaigns for government and non-government organizations, including the Ministry of Health, Do It For Your Best Life, and No Germs Round Near media campaigns. She has also worked on various life programs for corporate and government entities as writer, producer, and production manager. These include the Prime Minister Youth Awards, Red Stripe Live, and various national events. Her production company, Round of Applause Productions Limited, has created TV series aired on TVJ Run the Track in 2015 and 49 Paradise Drive in 2019, which she wrote, directed, and produced. Round of Applause also produces advertising material for corporate clients. A theater artist and educator by training, she has a deep interest in youth empowerment through performing and literary arts. Through her theater company, Independent Actors Movement, IAM, she has produced content for and with children, such as the award-winning annual children's theater series, Anansi Chapters, created by Damian Radcliffe, her husband. Sabrina is a proud mommy and wife, and in 2020, published her first collection of poems, Breathing Space, now available on Amazon in Kindle and paperback. In December 2021, she published I Am Not Afraid of Me Anymore, a collection of personal stories journeying from fear to power. It is also available on Amazon in Kindle and paperback. So we want to, from one girl boss to another, let us on our CCCJ's platform in celebration of our 20th anniversary. Welcome to this platform, Mrs. Sabrina Mcdonald Radcliffe. And guess the irony, I know your husband, he taught at Campion. I mean, what a small world. So let's get the emojis going, let's get the applause going. Let's welcome our first speaker, personal branding and how to leverage it. The platform is yours, Mrs. Radcliffe.
Good morning, Mrs. Graydwire. I'm about to ask if Damien taught you at Campion, but I know that's not so. Is it possible to lose the filter that you have over my face because it is blocking my visibility? There is a green.
Okay.
I figure it doesn't much, but it's.
Can I ask our technical team to assist us in this regard?
I'm also not allowed to share, apparently, so I'm going to ask you to share the presentation that I had sent yesterday, because I'm attempting to share now, but it's not allowing me to share, but that's fine. So while we are waiting for the technicalities to be sorted out with the filter or the background, as well as to allow me to present or just present exactly what I'd sent yesterday. How is everyone this morning? I'm very happy to be here to share my experience, my knowledge with future girl bosses in terms of how you could enhance your personal brand. And if you have not defined what that is, to help you to come to some level of definition. So while we wait for the technicalities to be sorted out, if you just put in the chat right now what you expect from my sharing this morning, you can go ahead and type it there. So I'll start. My expectations are that whatever I've shared with you or will share with you will be useful. My expectation is that there'll be participation throughout via the chat, not just with emojis, but with questions. In fact, for me, it's going to be more meaningful if you ask me as many questions as possible, whether it is through the chat or if Mr. McIntosh or Mrs. Dwyer are allowing you to speak within the session, then it's been more impactful, I believe, for you to ask me specific questions. So those are my expectations, that you will participate throughout with questions, comments, so that my responses can be more useful and that we'll have a good time. So what are your expectations? Chat look very, very, very quiet. All right, thank you, Shanique. I expect that you'll use your lived experiences backed by literature to promote girl boss mentality. Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to share their expectations of the session? Okay, I'm being told to check my video filters. All right, so let me do that while we... All right, that's better. Thank you. So go ahead with the presentation as you had it up. All right, I'm going to ask as well that someone assist me with manning the chat because I do want it to be participatory. All right, so this morning I'll be presenting to you personal branding, same ingredients, different recipes. And I've listed the different things that make up my ingredients beneath my name because throughout my 20 plus year journey as being a communicator, marketing communicator, and all the different layers to my life, I've found that the different things that are authentically Sabrina Mcdonald Radcliffe have helped to define my personal branding. You could scroll down for me, please, Mr. McIntosh. So I've started with a logo, my logo. And as you can see, it says, from the creative mind of Sabrina Mcdonald Radcliffe. Now, every brand always has a logo, but a logo does not make a brand. What a logo does is visualize and embodies what the brand promises. And so what my logo promises is that whatever I'm working on for you as an individual marketing communicator or a strategist is that my mind is fully engaged. It means that I'm looking at it from a 360-degree point of view, that it's going to be creative, and that there is a certain level of all of my experience coming together to serve your objective as my client. In my 9 to 5, where I'm head of sales and marketing for the brands that were noted, it's the same thing. The logo is not needed because I'm employed, but the same brand promise is what is presented every day that I turn up for work. Next slide, please. So what is a brand? And I'd love to see responses in the chat before I go further and tell you what I've defined a brand as. Who wants to have a go at it? There might be prizes at the end. Just saying. So what is a brand? What do you know a brand to be? And again, it can be in the chat or orally. So Shanique says, whatever identifies you. That's a starting point. Who else wants to give it a try? An identification of a particular person or business with reference to the identity and tone. Yes, we're getting closer there. Is that better? The angle? All right, so let me get to what I've defined a brand as. You could go on to the next slide. So this is my definition. Having worked in advertising, which this is one layer of marketing for a number of years, and then working within marketing, I believe a brand is this, and I've used the acronym: building reputation and nurturing dedication. So what's building? So the first thing you have to do, and Mrs. Dwyer said it earlier about, or I think it was Miss Powell, about being true to oneself. It makes no sense that you create a brand that is not you, that is a character that is not you, because you will not be able to sustain it. Not sustain it for yourself or sustain it for who your target audience or your clients will be. So the first thing you have to do is define your why. Why do you want to be a girl boss? Why do you want to get into this line of business? Why do you want to get in this industry? What is your why? Is it because you want to make some money? Because we all want to make some money. But beyond that, what is your bigger why? Are you trying to serve an underserved market? Are you trying to leave an impact in a particular way? Are you trying to create stories that change lives? What is your why? And then you decide what your how is, your what is. How are you going to communicate this why? What is it that you're going to make? And then how are you going to make it? And who are you going to make it for? So it's a lot of construction and shaping, stepping back and say, who am I? Who would I like to be in the next 6 months, 3 months? 12 months, whatever your time period is, next 5 years, and saying, okay, do the two contradict each other? Who I am and who I want to be, and how do I connect them without being untrue? Because you have to be authentic. Then reputation, the R in brand. What is reputation? What people know you for. Jamaicans have to talk about you have good and bad reputation. But reputation is basically creating evidence and proof. What do you have to show that you are who you say you are? So the webinar is called Girls in IT. Who do you say you are? Are you a coder? Are you a marketing strategist? Are you a graphic designer? What are you saying you are? And then what's the evidence? What's in your portfolio? And even if you don't have work experience, you can create portfolio. Back in the day, long before I ever worked in an advertising agency, I started writing commercials, um, creating my own radio copy around things that I saw or heard or imagined, so that whenever I sat across from a potential employer, I had a body of work to say, okay, so this girl can write. So start making evidence, proof to build your reputation. It's a lot easier now than when I started how many years ago, because there are a lot of apps, there are a lot of software that you can use to help create your evidence of your work versus a much more manual process back in the day. So use that to your advantage. Use your YouTubes, your IG handle, your social media presence, your WordPress website, whatever it is you have or can create. Use it to your advantage to create evidence of things that you actually make, not just copying and pasting what somebody else has done. And the A, and, seems like a simple little word, that and. But and is important because it when you are creating a personal brand or even a corporate brand, it is a continuous process. What a brand is now today may not be relevant 5 years from now. In fact, brands have had to evolve so much because of technological changes in the last 10 years, 5 years. A lot of brands recently have had to change how their logo appear, including one of the brands I work for, Burger King, because of how much more content is being created for the digital space as opposed to traditional media space. So the logo now has to be more digital friendly. But beyond the visuals, beyond the logo, who you started out as may not be where you want to continue to be because the market has changed, because you have changed, because the needs of consumers have changed. So, and means process and growth, means always stepping back to say, okay, how can I shift and adjust within my authentic self to better serve who I have deemed my target audience to be? So, attending webinars, doing courses, upskilling is very important, and changing, because some of the methods that you use or approaches you use earlier in your personal brand, uh, evolving may not serve you now. Let me give you a personal example. So back in my 20s, part of my brand promise was that I would deliver to clients like within 24 hours. That was my promise to myself. And so they'd be expecting something 2 days later and they're getting it same day, good quality stuff. As I got older, was not possible to, one, keep that up. Two, it was no longer necessary because now I had built a reputation of quality work. I could deliver within 48 hours. So I've had to re-strategize. What do I push more, speed or the creativity? So I decided speed does not need to be part of my personal branding anymore. Not that I'm going to be late or slow, but the quality of the work, the depth of what I bring is much more important for the types of clients I have now versus back in the day. So you have to wheel and come again. The N, the nurturing of your brand. You may not get it right on the first try. You may be looking at what everybody else is doing and saying, boy, why am I never do it the way, or I wish I was like. It's always good to look at what's happening, what best practices are there. But again, stay true to yourself. Take the time to incubate, just like how a mother or a father would nurture their child. You know, feed your brand the kind of content, the kind of experiences that you need to flourish. So again, the courses, the webinars, the content you consume. You can't be trying to be a girl boss and in IT and all you're consuming is content about fashion, unless you're trying to devise some kind of IT related fashion product. D, dedication. That dedication is speaking specifically to your target audience or your customer. Now, we hear a lot about loyalty programs, but before we even get to loyalty programs, most, I dare say, all businesses continue to be in business not because of acquiring new customers, but by retaining existing customers. Customers who are loyal to the brand because they've had a positive experience with the product, the process, or the people, or all of the above. So you have to try to find ways to get repeat usage or repeat interaction or repeat purchases. Um, and so by those repeat purchases, you can stay afloat, you can put your pot on fire. I'll give an example. I have an esthetician that I've been going to for waxing for more than 15 years. And I've gone back to her. First, she started as working for somebody, then she launched out into her own brand. And there are a set of clients, including myself, because she's told me this, that she can put her pot on fire every month to know that you can pay her bills and up to go school, because we're going to be coming back every month to use her services. Why? Because she gives great service, because she checks on you, because she gives discounts, or she has found different ways to give value added service beyond a good appointment. So she knows she can rely on her customers, and such. I've recommended her to other people. So you have to make sure you harvest your customer base in a way that they're willing to testify on your behalf, to say, hey, come check out Shanique's thing, man, because when Shanique work on this, you don't know this going that going to happen. So they will bring additional business to you while still being loyally dedicated to your brand offerings. Could you go on to the next slide, please? Next slide, please. Thank you. So this image just basically shows some of the key elements that are involved with creating and communicating a brand. The logo, as I mentioned, and I'm starting from the right of the image. Marketing it. But before we even get to marketing, strategy, because everybody has access to Instagram, everybody has access to Twitter and Snapchat and TikTok. So you have to decide, for my brand, which channels are most critical for my audience, and as such, how much am I going to use that channel, that platform, and then what kind of content will connect. That's the strategy in devising your message, but also how to communicate that message. All right, so strategy is very critical, whether it's personal branding or corporate branding or retailing or any kind of business. Then you market it. Are you doing paid ads? Are you doing sponsored events? Are you hosting webinars? How are you getting your message out? And as I mentioned, marketing is a bigger umbrella under which advertising falls. Advertising is basically paying for your presence, your image, your story, your business being seen and heard. Marketing has as much more, as you may very well be aware. Public relations is one good way to get that done, to get media eyes without spending media dollars. And it's a lot easier to do now with social media than traditional media. Your identity, we've spoken a lot about that, about who you are. I always, when I ask the question, who am I, I always hear Beanie Man's voice in my head, the girls I'm sugar, but I'm not the girls I'm sugar. So who am I? I am a meaning maker. I am an empowerment enabler. I am a marketing magician. You ask yourself that question all the time to make sure that what you say you are and who you say you are is what you're living. Trust, building trust, that credibility, that reputation thing there, very critical. Very, very critical. And design, look and feel, have a consistency of your design, of how you present yourself, and value. The persons who remain in business, remain in demand, are the persons who add value, not just giving the bare minimum, not just selling the source of product, but what's the value added that you bring to the customer, either in the experience that they're having right there with you or an experience to come, so that they see you as not just a transactional relationship, but a much more meaningful one. Could you go on to the next slide, please? So just a collection of logos of brands and products that you may very well be aware of. The most famous one people like to talk about is Apple, just because Apple presented itself as the brand that saw ahead of what the consumer thought they needed. Nobody needed an iPod, but Apple sat back and said, so people used to walk around a Walkman, and them have to. How many persons know what a Walkman is? Let me see. If anyone here knows what a Walkman is, just put it in the chat. Okay, and Mcdonald says, I do. Okay, great. A Walkman was a back in the day thing. Not true. When it tape pop, heaven have mercy with you trying to catch back that tape and allow it to play. But back to my point, they saw the need for persons on the go wanting to have music, their favorite music, without having to take out a cassette, put it in their plate, or even CDs. So they created this one-stop shop, so to speak, to allow the consumer to have all their favorite music on one small portable device. And nobody thought of that. So Apple positioned itself as an innovator, disruptor. Burger King, the challenger to McDonald's in the burger category, giving kids a sense of royalty when they come in by pushing their kids program. New Balance about comfort and affordability. And we could go through all of the logos, but the bottom line is, whenever you come up with a logo, because you've spent the time building your reputation, it should have an emotional response as well as an intellectual response. Your logo should immediately have people thinking of something or feeling something, or both. All right, next slide, please. Because I want to get to the questions part real quick so that you can have it more pointed. Next slide. Jason, could you go to the next slide? All right, not quite sure what is happening. All right, so here we go. Back on track. So what is personal branding? Anybody want to give it a go? What is personal branding? So earlier I asked the question, what is branding? Shanique said, whatever identifies you. Janelle had said, an identification of a particular person or business with reference to their identity and tone. So I've noted your participation thus far in answering the questions, but who wants to give a go at personal branding? Why are you in this webinar to learn about personal branding? What do you think it is? All right, look like we have some shy ones. I'll check back later in the chat. So I'm going to give you, I don't normally use Wikipedia, but when I was looking back at my different literature, different books, and even doing a Google search, I thought on a rare occasion, I thought Wikipedia's definition was apt. So the definition I'm going to use, which is on the next slide, if you could go to it, is from Wikipedia. All right, so Sade says, the act of involving yourself in a particular product. Not quite there, Sade, because involving yourself almost sounds as if you mean, and you can correct me if I'm interpreting not accurately, involving yourself in a product implies that it is not you. You are the product in a personal brand. You are the process, you're the everything. So involving in a product sounds like the product is outside of you. So if we could go on to, okay, you think about how you want to sell yourself. Okay, that's a part of it. It's one's effort to create an image of, this is Janelle's response, image of themselves in the eyes of others, or to change the public's perception of themselves, influence their behavior. Getting closer there, Janelle, influencing behavior. A brand creates influence because of the identity. So I'm going to read the Wikipedia definition. Personal branding is the conscious and intentional effort to create and influence public perception of an individual by positioning them as an authority in their industry, elevating their credibility, and differentiating themselves from the competition to ultimately advance their career, increase their circle of influence, and have a larger impact. So let me pull out a few critical words here. Positioning them, differentiating themselves, elevating credibility, advancing career, increasing circle of influence, having larger impact. Those are critical ingredients to developing one's personal brand. Let me go back to the chat real quick. Exactly. It's about building reputation. Janelle Fuller continues, persons create personal brand to be seen as thought leaders, influencers, authority figures, etc. Yeah. It's a strategic move to say, this is your brand, this is what you stand for, this is what I got to give, and this is how I'm different from everybody else. This is why you need me. I am the thing that makes your H2O become H to the ISO, gives it a different level up. What you are bringing to offer to add value and create influence. On to the next slide. So I'm going to do a step back and do a personal brand analysis because I think it would be useful. So who am I? And who am I is on the next slide. I'm a sandwich. I see myself as a sandwich. Why? Because within a sandwich, in our industry that I work, we call the top part of the sandwich the crown, the bun, and the bottom part of the bun, we call the heel. And in between the sandwich, I'm seeing chicken, tomato, onion, mayonnaise, lettuce, pickles. Only thing missing from this sandwich is cheese. And I even see cucumbers. I see myself as a sandwich because my brand comes with all the things that I had listed at the beginning of the presentation, my ingredients. But not every client needs everything that is in my sandwich. Some clients not about the pickles, so I take that out. Some clients don't like tomatoes, so I take that out. Doesn't mean that tomato is not available. They may very well need tomato later on in what their need is from me as a communications consultant, me from a marketer, or even my 9 to 5 as head of sales and marketing. If I am dealing with something that has to do with public relations, then I don't necessarily need to have my creative genius hat on. I need my crisis management hat on. So as a sandwich, I can bring certain ingredients, certain layers, certain things that are authentically Sabrina, Mcdonald, Radcliffe to the fore and dial some back. Next slide, please. Next slide. Sometimes I turn up as a salad instead of a sandwich. Same ingredients. There's a chicken there, there's a lettuce, there's a tomato. I've added some avocado though, because I could even transform my bun, the bread, into croutons in this sandwich. Again, serving the needs of the client, because the client probably wants something on a plate and not something at the hole in their hand. So maybe I have to make my authentic brand DNA, all the cells and tissues that make up my brand, all the different ingredients and flavors, to be a plated experience, a more elevated experience. So that means that you may very well in any given week catch me as a marketing communicator, dressed up in makeup presenting, and probably the weekend I'm on a set shooting as doing production in rugged boots and some pants and stuff, because that's what the client needs. I'm shooting an ad for them. I don't need to be in makeup and all that stuff. It's the same girl, it's the same me, but different ingredients, different presentation of my brand DNA. So I see myself as a sandwich first, layered, stacked, multi-layered flavors, but I can be plated. Next slide, please. So Who are you? And this I'm going to run straight to the chat for, because I want to hear, just don't think about it too hard. Who are you? And we're talking and thinking as personal brand now. So I'm gonna hang in the chat for another 30 seconds to see who types. All right, so I think we're being a little bit shy in this question, and that's fine. That's fine. I can go on to the next slide to help you define who you are. So on to the next slide, please. I go back to my definition of a brand. Your why. Why do you want to be in IT or a girl boss in IT? What reputation, what evidence will you build? How will you continue to nurture and develop? And what is this audience that you want to be dedicated? How are you going to be creating loyalty among them? Repeat usage of your services or repeat traffic to your page if it's about generating leads or any of those things. Next slide. So earlier I shared who I am, how I've defined myself. And you may not remember, but at the beginning I defined myself right beneath my name: writer, producer, author, actress, marketing magician, all those wonderful things. So I'm going to ask you, what are your ingredients? And by ingredients, I mean the things that you are good at, or the area that you're trained in, or things that you're passionate about, because that helps you to define your your sense of self and what you want to bring, what you want to posit in the world. So what are your ingredients? What are the good up things that God made you with, that you have learned while being in your current educational training? What are things you're passionate about? What is that thing or those things that every time you think about it, you get goosebumps and you feel a sense of purpose? What are they? As a digital disruption agency, you want to tell me what are some of your ingredients? The person who has that as their display. Cute picture, by the way. And you're wearing my favorite color, purple. So who are you? What are your ingredients? All right. I'll check back in a few. The next thing you need to ask in creating a personal brand: who has an interest in some or all of your ingredients, all of the things that make you you? In other words, what's your audience? Is your audience corporate? Is your audience teenagers? Is your audience mothers? Is your audience mothers who are seeking a way to manage their schedule? Because mothers is a very broad category. You can break down your larger audience into segments, and the more specific you get with your audience, the more impactful your connection, your messaging, your brand identity building will be. So it's very critical that you get very specific. All right, Diana Mendez. My ingredients, she says, include determination. Awesome. Going after what I want. I'm passionate about connections and having them work. I love when people are satisfied. And after my studies, I want to own my own internet and communication company. Brilliant, Diana. So let's look at her ingredients. Her ingredients: is that she's passionate about connections and having them work. I'm interpreting connections here to mean connecting with people and having those work for you. Let me know if I'm right, Diana. She says she loves when people are satisfied. And after her studies, she wants to own that. So who's your audience, Diana? Let us use Diana, who has stepped up bravely to share her ingredients. So if we were to help to define Diana's audience, people who may have an interest in her sense of getting things done, of working well with others, seeing things done, that's very wide. Um, Persons who work in corporate clients could very well be your target audience. Now that's wide and varied. You could decide to focus on financial services if you have figured out that there's a particular need that they have with connecting people in the digital space, because you said internet and communication, and perhaps they have a need for speed, meaning promptness. Maybe they have a need to outsource and have certain documents written off site as opposed to having a person constantly in house. Look around, look what people are looking to hire. Check out LinkedIn when people posting jobs. Check out to see where your audience could be. Look even at traditional newspaper. I know you, millennials and Gen Zers are not into newspaper, but look at where your potential clients might be posting what they need. Janelle, she says she's a budding marketing communication specialist and entrepreneur who enjoys helping brands to cut through the clutter. Understanding their needs and formulating different ways to develop their brand and connecting with their audiences. Her ingredients: digital marketing, content ideation, a love for media and communications, soft skills, project management. Both of these responses are very well thought out, and so you're well on your way. All right. We won't get into it today, but if I were to have a follow-up workshop where it was a working workshop, we'd help Diana and Janelle and anybody else who would be in that workshop to define all of that into one brand statement, so that when someone sees it, they know, oh, this is what Janelle Fuller is. This is what Diana Mendez is. This is how they are. This is who they are. I need some of that in my business, in my processes. Because this is nice and detailed, lovely for a website or for your bio, but in terms of encapsulating it in one statement. All right, so after you've identified the ingredients and you've identified your audience, then you figure out how do you want your ingredients to be consumed. And we're talking about packaging those unique selling points that you have to drive awareness, because first people have to hear before they can care about what you have offering. And after they've given it some consideration, then they move on to trial. Try it out. Let me see if she as good as she say. And then okay, then they purchase. And then depending on how you handle that first interaction, you can start creating loyalty. And loyalty by the actual experience, but loyalty also by marketing efforts that you do to have them come back to your remarketing, to get them back to your page, to get back to your business, and so on. So you have to think of all of those things. Next slide, please. All right. So what do you want to be known for? What do you want your brand to be? And that's a critical question. What do you want to be known for? When people hear Diana Mendez, Janelle Fuller, Shanique, Kimala, the names I've noted that are participating, what do you want to be known for? And anybody else that wants to join the conversation, what you want your brand to be, because that's what the session is about. Get very, very specific. Drill down all of your ingredients to one statement, one brand promise, one thing that covers most or all if possible. And start putting that out there. Next slide. I'm going to share with you from a book that I read and invested in. It's called Building a Story Brand, and it's written by Donald Miller, because I want to share with you some ingredients of how you can create your brand story, your marketing story. All right. So according to Donald Miller, in creating your brand, there are like 7 key areas. One, there's a character, and the character is the customer who is the hero. The brand is never the hero, because you are in service of those who you want to influence or who you want to buy a product. If you're trying to be an influencer, you must be thinking of who your customer is, who your audience is, so that you can actually have influence over them, and then perhaps even attract some marketing dollars for endorsements. So your customer is the hero, their needs, their taste, their preferences. The customer wants something. What do they want? Is it easier access? Is it more of? Is it information? Is it product? What do they want? So that's a character in your story. Then the character has a problem. The problem is the villain. For example, when Tesla Motors, the villain, identified as the gas guzzling inferior technology, Tesla decided to be, serving that. There are 3 levels of problem or conflict when you think of your customer or your audience. There's an external, I need a car outside of themselves. Internal, I want to be an early adapter to new technology. So, all right, so I want a car, but I don't want to be just using an old type car, parents and my grandparents use. And then there's a philosophical um, problem. My choice of car should help me save the environment. Again, goes back to the customer's needs, what they're passionate about. So when you're thinking of your audience, think of it, their external need. So let's think of the example that Janelle gave earlier about wanting to be a marketing communicator. I need somebody who can come up with content. Internal need. I want content that is not like everybody else's. I want to stand out because that's an individual need there. Philosophical. I want the content that I'm creating to actually inspire people, not just entertain them. So if you've broken down the audience, Janelle, that way, then you can figure out how you're going to make your brand story connect with those needs. And ask questions. Do some surveys online for fun to find out what people need and what they want, your audience. Apart from doing the Google search I mentioned about jobs and stuff, try to see if you can sit down across some people, attend webinars, and ask questions of presenters in particular industries that you have an interest in. So remember, customers buy solutions to internal problems. Regrettably, most companies only focus on solutions for external problems. That sense of identity, that sense of self, the needs that and conflicts that rest there, that's what people most um, buy solutions for. So even if, going back to the example of mothers again, buying a diaper, what is her need? Yes, she wants her child to be clean, but her need is she wants to be a good mother. So Procter and Gamble has done a lot of ad campaigns about the sense of feeling of being a good, responsible mother that does not leave poo-poo on their babies. Bam, bam. All right, the third element, according to Donald Miller, is the character has a problem and needs a guide. The brand must do something for the hero. So the brand, your solution, your services that's a guide. So show empathy. I understand what your needs are, but show authority. And you can show authority again by building the evidence I spoke of earlier. I understand you and your needs. I can help you meet your needs. You know, there's a campaign from the Discover, which credit card that you can check out on YouTube about how they approach doing that. Um, Ways to show authority, testimonials, people who you've done stuff for. So that could be a brethren, your sister, we've actually done some work for, statistics, um, awards that you may have won, client logos, people who you have worked with before, builds your credibility. So as you build your personal brand. On to the next slide. Let me give you a quick thing about testimonials. Real story. So there is a filmmaker by the name of Crusher, who I can now call a friend, who shared with me that because early in his years when he was at Edna Manley College as a as a visual artist. I did a testimonial video for him in his final year show about his ability to work on an advertising shoot set. He was able to book other clients because they were like very surprised. At the time, I was a brand manager, not the head of marketing. This is many years ago, over a decade ago. They were surprised that somebody from Burger King had used this young dude and was able to speak well on his behalf. So testimonials go a long way. And he shared that with me like 8 years after the fact. So I didn't even know. But testimonials go a long way. So let's go back. The character has a problem and meets a guide. What the guide does, give them a plan. Customers will trust a guide with a plan. Your process plans, using the Tesla example, test the car, purchase the car, enjoy free maintenance for life. You give them a plan to say, okay, I can stick with this person. Again, the value added I mentioned earlier. And the agreement plans tend to work in the background though. For example, Whole Foods list of values. So people go to Whole Foods to buy in the US this more plant-based, more organic meal solution entity have an intrinsic agreement with them about the philosophy about preserving the environment and living well. So the character has a problem, who meets a guide gives them a plan. Number 5, calls them to action. Customers will take action if they're challenged to do so. They're direct calls to action. Apply now, buy now, call today, order now. Um, Transitional calls to action also exists. Free information, testimonials, samples. So if you're selling hair product or if you are offering content writing, your first ad free or your first ad 50% off, free trials. Stake a claim to your territory. If you want to lead in a certain category, beat the competition to it by creating content that positions you as the expert. So you have to be consistent in doing this. Create reciprocity. Give freely. Your hero, the customer, your client must feel like, yeah, I'm not being um, given this stingily. There's empathy in this. Position yourself as the guide. When you help your customers have a problem, you're the guide. They have a problem, I got you. That's what you're basically saying. Number 6 in Donna Miller's concept. So, recapping, character has a problem, meets a guide, gives them a plan, give them a call to action, and helps them to avoid failure. Now, failing is part of life and should be experienced because you can learn from it. But people don't want to feel like they're a repeat failure, keep making the same mistake. So you providing them a solution, giving them a call to action, you are helping them to avoid failure because you're helping them to win. And so you have to think of what are you helping your customer, your client, your audience to avoid. What is that thing that they don't want to have? They don't want to look stupid. They don't want to have grammatical errors. They don't want to have a slow running website. What are you giving them? And the final thing in Donna Miller's theory of creating a brand story is on the next slide, number 7. Ends in success. So after you've given them a solution, you've become their guide, it ends in success. How can the brand, your brand, change the lives of their desired happily ever after? Because they're trying to avoid something, which means that they're trying to achieve something. So we all grew up watching Disney, or at least Disney Channel, where the princess marries the man and live happily ever after. Cliche story, but everybody's looking for happily ever after. So how do you end a story for your customer? Do they win some sort of power or position by interacting with you? Are they better able to write their resume? Are they better able to have a what's social media presence because you're the social media manager? Do they Are you making them responsive to current affairs because you're posting for them with relevant content? Um, you could also end the story by being unified with somebody or making them unified with somebody or something that makes them whole. So are you connecting them to experiences or individuals that allow them to evolve, to make them feel more full, more whole as themselves? All right. So just to recap, the customer is the hero of the brand story. Otherwise, the story will not connect with the customer. the brand will be irrelevant to the customer, leading to low recall, who that again, and low sales, no interest. On to the next slide. So this is my last slide, well, last in the formal presentation. Anybody here ever heard of a sales funnel? Well, there are much more layers to the funnel, but I like this one, the AIDA version, because I think it captures the main areas: awareness, interest, desire, action. The sales funnel is how you move your target audience from being aware to taking action, the action that you want them to take. So these are just examples of how you can apply some of different activities or strategies to your own personal brand, moving your target audience through your sales funnel. So how do you build awareness? Do blogs, write articles, paid advertisement. $5,000 goes a long way in social media ads. Volunteering for webinars, asking somebody, can I have 10 minutes to present on something? Hosting your own webinars or your own podcast. And podcasts are so easy to do now versus back in the day. Paid search to your landing pages if you have a website set up. Next phase is interest. So you've made them aware, but how do you get them interested? Okay, to give you consideration. Your web content, is it dynamic content? All the most recent research shows that persons who interact with video content online find that to be more impactful and more lasting and more engaging. So your web content, try not to have only words, definitely have pictures, make sure the layout is cool and easy to navigate, but make sure you have video content. Blogs, being consistent. So they click on a link that from your ad, to say digital disruption agency. And they see the ad, they click on it, they click on the link, it takes them to a blog about how to disrupt on a Sunday. I don't know what your blog is going to be about. And I read it, I was like, oh, I never think about it away there. And then I read on something else. And so by interacting with your newsletter, your blog, they are more interested in what you have to offer or your perspective on a particular service or product. And then their email campaigns, definitely how you can speak to persons that you have in your email list. So that's another way to create interest. Then desire. So you've got them interested. How you get them desiring what you got, your good stuff, your good things, them. White papers, ebooks, brochures, and you can think of other things specific to your IT industry, microsites. And once you create desire now, then your call to action. Suppose you're trying to get them to book you. So after they read your white paper on how to code in 50 seconds, making stuff up here, what's your call to action? Book me now for your first book me now for your first consultation. Your first consultation is free. You want them to take action. And again, case studies. This is again not specific to your industry, but the different things that you want them to access. Maybe it's an e-learning site, whatever it is. All right. So I think I'm practically at the end. You can go to the next slide, Mr. McIntosh. All right, so at this point, I will, because what's left at the end, I think it's just my logo to say, I've wrapped, and it's, bringing it back to you from the creative mind of Sabrina Mcdonald Radcliffe. I hope this morning's session with me has been useful, has been productive for you as you set out to become girl bosses, changing the world for good, making your mark in the world. I wish you well, and go do your thing. Go have the positive impact that I know each of you will have. So yeah, that's it from me. I'll take questions now, whether you are doing it on the chat or if you're doing it by by speaking. Any questions? All right, so I take it we have no questions or comments or concerns. All right, thank you as well, Diana. All right, so I do have some prizes for 4 individuals that were very much engaged throughout the session. They are Janelle Fuller, Shanique Walker, Carty, let me make sure I have her name correct, Diana Mendez, and I see Akimola Francis was also engaged as well. So I'm going to arrange with Mr. McIntosh regarding that. And the prize is that each of you have won for yourselves a meal certificate from Restaurant Associates Limited, valued at $1,000. And it can be redeemed at Burger King, Popeyes, or Little Caesars. So I will arrange with him how you can collect from him these vouchers once I get them to him. Thank you for having me. It's been my pleasure.
Oh, and the pleasure is really ours here at the CCCJ. Before we get to the emojis, the carrier of gems, well put. And I like gems. Mrs. Radcliffe, couldn't you have hinted a little bit? So I dropped something in the chat. But we're on the whole girl boss and marketing. And you forgot to indicate about your sojourn in the Festival Queen competition. So I know you. What I like most about your presentation was that you didn't just speak to the theoretical underpinnings, which is very good to contextualize, but the fact that your presentation was very pragmatic and provided this compass. Now, this is a compass that we can now use to monitor, evaluate, and then we can make adjustments. And you have also brought me to the realization that I'm a sandwich. I didn't know that. And the aspect that I'm most interested in, the layered part of it, because what it does is allow us then to always be in context and to be able to see through the eyes of the customer. And I'm still related now to that very long time when I read To Kill a Mockingbird, and it spoke about walking, or you don't know someone until you walk around in the shoes. And as someone who is in communications and marketing, it's very important that we understand our clientele. And we at the CCJ understand the persons that we're serving, because the truth is that the pandemic brought us into this new paradigm, and most of the persons that did well were entrepreneurs who were online, and they were still doing well. In fact, a lot of businesses grew. And so I like how you layered your own presentation, and I also like the participative mode of it. I am always enthralled by webinars that allow persons to feel a part of process and not that they are removed from it. So I want to thank you. I want to congratulate you on your accomplishments. And what you did, and you didn't realize, is that you threw yourself right out there for CCJ to ask you again, because this workshop to which you speak, we will definitely have to engage you. One of what we are lacking in our country is persons who we can relate to. You know, we don't have to go on any platform and look at the girl bosses who are in other geographical regions, but that we have persons right here in Jamaica, and should I dare say, at our fingertips, because I know how to contact you now, you know, that can come. And you're on a platform with students as well. And at the CCCJ, we do a lot of applied courses. And we understand this is the way to go. Also, short courses. So I'm thinking ahead to say our research will now show that we need to engage more of the short courses in webinars where people can also be certified after doing a webinar of this nature. And we are always interested in partnerships. We're interested in collaboration. And so thank you so much. Thank you for the gems you brought. And the gems you brought that shows the gem you are. Thank you. And I hope your business grow from strength to strength. And we will. So now I'm not sure if I'll be eating the sandwich, but I will be living the sandwich. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. We will do our evaluation a little bit later, and we'll share the results with you, you know, so that we can see. But it's good that you're here to share with the students as well as our staff from the Secretariat. Thank you so much, Madam Festival Queen. And we're from the same parish too.
So people know your business. Yes, it's 20 years ago I was Miss St. Catherine Festival Queen and third in the country in the national.
Yes, I remember well.
Yes, but you know, you're a wordsmith. You know, I've listened to all the things that you just said and said, watch is there to hear. You know, just making magic with words. But it was my pleasure. One of my mission in life, especially at this stage where I've had experience and I have the opportunity to share, is that I want to share. I want to empower other young persons to get quicker to the knowledge and information that I got to it so that they can level up quicker and, you know, just do great things. So I had to shift a couple of things around today to make it happen, but I'm glad I did. It's always a pleasure to share with those coming up behind me because others have done so for me.
Thank you. I like that you're giving back. So let us show her our appreciation. And because we're online, we're going to now just roll out the emojis for our girl boss. Thank you so much. I was so engaged for all of it, and I knew our audience was. Yes, really beautiful presentation. I'm getting some feedback from the chat. And Janelle says, thank you. And like I said, I like the participative mode. Thank you so much, Sabrina, and all the best. And you're still getting in lovely presentation from Marsha Daly. You get the hands up, see there? Right up there. Yeah, man. Woo! Because I noticed.
Is it possible to share this with me, the recording of this with me?
We will definitely do that. We will definitely do that. So looking forward to seeing you gracing our presence again at the CCCJ. Lovely. And you are prolific, a part of our 20th. What a way to go. All right. And
all right, I'm off to a meeting now. So
I know you're busy. All right. All right. Take care. Thank you so much.
Everyone have a great day and happy 20th.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So our first session was engaging and very, very interesting. And, you know, Sabrina spoke about the sandwich. And, you know, a lot of times you really have to ask yourself the question, who am I? Because there are so many definitions and people are defining you. But Sabrina has taught us that we now need to ask ourselves that critical question. I'm a sandwich, but also as a girl boss, I'm becoming the woman I always knew I could be. She's fierce but gentle, vulnerable yet strong, and unapologetically ambitious. And that is a quote coming from Boss Babe Inc. And here at the CCCJ, we also recognize this sandwich mentality. In terms of the layered flavor, we're always promoting intellectual discovery, entrepreneurial skills, and we are always creating economic opportunities for all through education. So we are on that train of the self-discovery, and I want to congratulate the CCCJ on this initiative, the project, because one of the things that we've been talking about in certain spheres is that of aligning our work to industry. And like I said before, this is an opportunity to have our students engage as well as staff in entrepreneurial activities in the new dispensation. Thank you so much. And in the interest of time, we're going to continue. Let me see the emojis just to show that you're still here. Wow, such a potent and insightful presentation. I'm alluding to that comment as well. And like we said before, at CCCJ, we're celebrating not just our success and the partnerships over the years, but also our service to you, our students, as well as our other stakeholders. So now we're going to move right into session 2, and we started a little bit late, but now we're on track. And so I am just asking the technical team to see if Miss Kadia Francis is on so that we can move. But while we're here and we're speaking to success, looking at the definition of success, and this is something that is always echoed. You've been here the whole time. Yes, but Kadia, you're right up here, and I know you're ready and ready to go. And before we bring on Kadia, I want to say success usually comes to those who are too busy looking for it. So you have to put yourself out there and start reimagining and rethinking where you want to go. And so we are right into session 2, and we're continuing the success that we have experienced on the platform from the beginning of the morning, building and designing your personal brand. So let me tell you a little bit about Miss Kadia Francis. Kadia wears many hats in the digital space, but her official titles are digital literacy and skills development specialist and strategist. Kadia believes that as a region, we have geographical, linguistics, and cultural advantages that can be leveraged in the digital space for individual and national benefits. But this can only be realized through the digital education and upskilling of our people. And so in 2018, she embarked on a mission to do just that. Empower Jamaicans and other Caribbean nationals through information and education, starting with the founding of Digital Jamaica. Digital Jamaica is a tech-based information and idea exchange hub, which includes a blog and podcast dedicated to the education and promotion of aspiring and existing Jamaican tech digital professionals. To further realize those goals and build on the gains made through Digital Jamaica, she launched the Digital Disruption Agency, DDA, in 2020. The DDA collaborates with public and private sector entities such as Kingston Creative, and I see them in this space. I've taken a couple of photographs in the background, and Hard Trust NSTA to develop digital literacy and skill training courses, as well as skills development workshops and learning resources for individuals. To date, the DDA has created over 20 training programs and trained over 4,000 Jamaican and Caribbean nationals. In 2021, Kadia launched the Digital Awareness, Readiness and Engagement DARE program, a youth-focused initiative providing exposure, access, and education to technology for Jamaica's young people through mentorship, internship, and training. CADIA continues on in our efforts to close digital gaps and future-proof Jamaican and Caribbean nationals. The Council of Community Colleges of Jamaica, in our collaborative efforts and in the launching of our Girl Boss Build Your Personal Brand, welcomes Miss Cadia Francis to our platform, where she will present on building and designing your personal brand. Let's get the emoji going as we welcome Cadia. Yay, Cadia, welcome.
Hey guys, good morning. How are you? That was an awesome welcome, Mrs. Dwyer. I feel like Rocky. That was amazing. Thank you guys for having me. What a wonderful first session you guys had. And a privilege to have Mrs. Radcliffe on today to talk directly to you. She's expensive. She's expensive and she's booked and busy. So it was a privilege for us to have her here talking to us this morning, and we learned a lot. We did learn a lot. So hoping you guys are ready for session 2 and hungry and tired and thirsty and all them things there. Not going to affect our learning this morning, right? Because we came prepared, yes? We eat before we come? Yes? Good. All right then, guys. So I am going to be talking to you guys today. Again, I'm going to be carrying on the conversation about personal branding, but I'm going to take a slightly different route. Some of the things, you're ready, Latisha? Good. Some of the things Mrs. Radcliffe would have already touched on, but we're going to go over them again in a little bit more detail. And funnily enough, when I was putting this presentation together, I sat and I thought, because I teach, as Mrs. Dwyer would have said to you just earlier, that's kind of my thing. But when I am talking to my Jamaican students or students in the Caribbean, what I try to do is I try to use case studies, and these case studies usually involve people that we know and that we can relate to because they have the same experiential background. So when I was putting the presentation together, I was like, okay, who are the persons who best represent these things that I want to talk about? And as it turns out, guys, 4 out of the 5 of them are women. As it turns out, when I'm thinking who are the best persons in Jamaica that I can use to represent these things, 4 out of 5 of them were women. In fact, 5 out of 5 of them were women. I was like, no, let me not be too. So I threw a guy in there. I threw a guy in there for good measure. Okay. But this is the Girl Boss webinar. So I think I did well in that regard, right? So let me start by sharing my that's not what I want to share. By sharing my presentation. Hold on, guys. I think I'm having some technical issues.
While we await Kadia's presentation, I'll just share with you some nuggets. 5 things to remember today, because I mean, we're girl bosses and we want to ensure that we can put ourselves in this space and that we know what is happening too in the spaces that we traverse. So I want you to remember this today. You are smart, 1. 2, you're talented. 3, you are worthy. 4, you are capable. And all of these attributes and characteristics says you are a girl boss. And so one of your goals is to make an impact, is to make an income while making an impact. Let us again welcome our presenter, Miss Kadia Francis.
Listen, JPS don't want me to be great, guys. All right, then. So let's hope everything goes the way it's supposed to go now, and it's looking good. Okay, great. All right, guys. I am so sorry about that, but I am back. So what am I going to be talking to you guys about today? I'm going to be talking to you guys about 5 key components of a successful personal brand. Now, it could be the 5 steps to a successful personal brand, but these are some of the things you need to make sure that you have down, that you have as a foundation or as a base for growing, building, developing your personal brand. Now, these are based on my own experiences, how I even got here to the point where I'm at the CCCJ Girl Boss webinar. I mean, among people like Mrs. Radcliffe. How did I even get here? Well, these are the 5 components that I kind of had to figure out to make my journey more meaningful and to get where I needed to be as a personal brand. So we're going to go through them, right? But before we do, let's talk about what is personal branding. Now, I know you would have gone over it before, but I'm going to go over it again. And I kind of have a slightly different take, right? When you're talking about a personal brand, you're talking about being the CEO of you, me incorporated, me limited, me.com, right? It's all about you. What you need to be doing in terms of becoming or developing the mindset of a personal brand is that you need to be a marketer for yourself, right? I think you guys can now see my screen. That's great. So you need to start marketing yourself, start marketing brand you, because that's the first step to becoming a personal brand. It's taking yourself outside of where you work. It's not about the company you work for. It's about you and what you do, what you have to offer, all of that good stuff. Me incorporated, right? Okay, something is going on here with my PowerPoint, but never mind. So let's talk about what personal branding is. It's the intentional effort to promote yourself in a way that establishes your credibility and builds your authority. Pretty much what I'm saying is, why should anybody trust? First of all, what are you saying? And secondly, why should anybody trust what it is that you're saying? How do I know that you know what you're talking about, right? So that's what we mean by establishing your authority and building your credibility. And some of the questions you need to ask yourself is, what do I know? Or better yet, what do I want to be known for, right? Secondly, how do you leverage and position that knowledge that you have? And thirdly, how do the people around you see you, right? So if you have somebody telling you that, hey, you know, you're a very good speaker, or you have a lovely voice, or I like the way you write, or I like the way you speak, whatever, how am I being perceived? What is the energy? What is the vibe that I am giving off? Because one of the biggest thing about personal brand, it's all about perception. In fact, one of the biggest thing about marketing in general, it's about perception. Because you can say you are something, you can say you are this way, you can say you like this thing, you can say you know this thing, but it's about what the people say about you. And if there is alignment with what you say you are and how people experience you, which forms their impressions and perceptions of you, then you're winning. Right? Because those two things have to come together. If there's a misalignment, there's something off somewhere, and people can usually pick that up, and that's not good, right? Secondly, what it is not about how popular you are, or how many people know you and how many people you know. Because not everyone who is popular, especially in the online space, has a personal brand. In fact, a lot of the personal brands that are successful are not even as mainstream as your favorite YouTuber, your favorite person on IG, your favorite TikToker, right? So striving to achieve a high follow count and social media popularity does not a personal brand make. Right? That's not the be all and the end all. In fact, I'll give you a little bit of insight here into the world of marketing and digital marketing, especially. Micro creators, micro personal brands tend to be more successful in the long run than big brands. That has been the case throughout the entire COVID pandemic. In fact, well, we're still living in the pandemic, but certainly in the earlier stages of it, when everybody was starting to think, especially big businesses, they were starting to think, oh my God, how am I going to still be able to reach the people I need to reach? How am I going to be able to talk to them? Where are they? They're all online, and everybody made this mad dash to jump online, right? That's good, but it's different online. In the traditional space, you can run an ad in the newspaper, you can book a primetime TV slot, you can probably jump on radio, you know, book a slot on the radio. That's all well and good. But with the online space, first of all, you're talking to more people. That's first of all. Secondly, you have a lot more data that is available to you in the online space. And thirdly, especially if you're using social media platform, it's about communication. It's about how you communicate and who you communicate with. And so, because social media is such an interactive space, brands and businesses are not necessarily wanted in those spaces. It's a space where we'll come and relax and we'll chill and we'll vibe and we'll find with people and we'll chat and we'll fast in other people's business. That's kind of what we do on social media. So when we see brands encroaching on the space, we're like, why are you even here? But this is the trick that brands have come up with, that marketers have come up with, to usurp your feeling of, no, get out of my face. I don't need you in my, fun space. They use people that you like. Influencers, we call them. They use the people that you like, that you already follow, that you already know, that already has established credibility and authority, and through them, they market their stuff to you, right? So that's kind of how brands and businesses have been able to use these digital marketing spaces, these online spaces, to market directly to you. And that's the exact same thing you need to be doing, except you are the influencer. You are the brand that other brands come to because of your expertise that they trust, in order to get you to reach your audience, to get through you to reach the audience that they want to reach, right? So you need to be able to position yourself that way. And that's why it's not automatic. It's something that you have to earn. You don't get up one day and put up a pretty social media profile and a nice picture, you know, put a bio together and start posting pretty pictures of yourself and bam, personal brand. It doesn't work that way. In fact, a lot of the personal brands that you see that are now visible to you, that you know, if I mention the names, you can go, yeah, I know who that is. That was years in the making. It wasn't even I've been on social media for a year or two and now I'm popular. No, they were already working on their social, their personal brand before they even took to online spaces, right? And so it requires constant work to maintain that position, because these persons that I'm talking about that started the work from before and is now adapting these digital platforms and leveraging these digital platforms, they have to maintain their position as the go-to person for this thing or that thing. Why? Competition stiff out a road, right? Because when you're in the online space, because of the lower barriers to entry, anybody can go on social media, anybody can build a website, anybody can even build an app, anybody can build an app these days, right? So the digital space is so accessible to everyone. So everybody with a little thing for say can create their own platforms and stage to say it on. And so you have to make sure that you are establishing that credibility, building your authority, and that you are attracting the right people, building your community and all these good stuff so you can remain relevant to maintain that position. Yeah. What are the benefits of having your personal, having a personal brand? Well, exposure and recognition. Exposure leads to recognition. And Mrs. Radcliffe was talking to you about awareness, right? So the more you put yourself out there talking about what you know, is the more you're exposing that knowledge to the world. And over time, people will start recognizing you as the person who has a special kind of knowledge in this or that area. Yeah. With that comes community and network, because this is the thing, a personal brand is you and all that good stuff. But remember, we talk about perception and what people think about you. Having a community of people that likes you, that thinks you're the bomb, that thinks you're the greatest thing since sliced bread, is very helpful, because you can leverage that community to build your network and to create opportunities to earn. And that's the gist of this whole thing, isn't it? We want to be able to position ourselves so we can earn, right? And whether it's opportunities that come to you because of the exposure and the recognition and the community and the networking, or it's opportunities that you create for yourself because of the exposure and the recognitions and the networking. So it goes both ways. Opportunities will find you, like out of the blue, I got an email to say, hey, we're having this webinar, we want you there. But if you think about it, I would have created that opportunity for myself the minute I decided to go out there and start talking. I kind of put that out there into the universe to say, hey, I am the person you need to talk to. I'm the person you need to have at your webinar if you want to talk about this thing, because I know my stuff, right? So I put that out there and kind of created the right atmosphere for that to happen. That's what my PowerPoint gets better after this, right? So everybody should know who this is, right? You guys know who this person is, yeah? Raise your hand in the chat if you know who this lovely lady is. Anybody? Who is this lovely lady? What do you guys know about this lady here? The connector of dots. That's actually something she has in her bio on LinkedIn, the connector of dots. What else do we know about her? Dr. Terry Carell Reed. That name should be ringing a bell for you guys. What do you guys know about her? Better yet, how do you guys feel about her? How does she make you feel? Let's talk about that. How does she make you feel? When you see her come across your screen on social media, on TV, or what are some of the emotions that come up? What are some of the thoughts that come to your head? Passionate communication facilitator, a role model, okay? Anybody else? What comes to mind when you see this person, when you hear her? The life of the party, an influencer, and one that sees the best in everyone, and she never leaves without you feeling valued. That's absolutely amazing. Vibrance, okay, anybody else? Anybody else with some thoughts about a woman of integrity, okay? All these things they're formed from how you perceive Dr. Terry Carell Reed, right? Now she might say that this is what I do, this is who I am, blah, blah, blah. And you'll never hear Dr. Terry Carell come and say, I am a woman of integrity. Probably not in those words, but how she carries herself, the things she said, the things she do, right? It gives off that vibe, it gives off that energy, doesn't it? She's family oriented, all that good stuff, right? So component number one of building your personal brand is finding your zone of genius. And what do we mean by your zone of genius? We're talking about your unique power. It's a one-of-a-kind quality that only you can bring to a space, only you can bring to a particular industry, just you, right? And it's why you can do certain things better than other people. Not that other people can't do great things or even similar things to what you do, but there's something about you that it's just different. You know what I mean? That is your zone of genius. So when you're trying to figure out what is this thing, trying to put your finger on what is this thing that makes me special or unique or different, you have to ask yourself, what are the things that I'm actually good at doing? If you don't know the things that you're good at doing, ask the people around you, what am I good at doing? If I was to ask you, what do you think I know better than everybody else, or what is that one thing that you think I do better than everybody else? What would that be? Give me 5 things, give me 2 things. Ask the people around you, because because they're around you, they would have already formed opinions about you and what you do. So you're gonna ask them, right? And of course, you're asking people that you trust, right? No bad vibes, people, right? What am I good at? What do I know that I know? Because let me tell you something, guys. This is something that is going to creep up on you a lot when you're starting your personal brand. That thing called imposter syndrome. Even the first lady, well, the former first lady, Michelle Obama, suffered from imposter syndrome. And the thing about imposter syndrome is it's more about an anxiety. But the way to get over that or to power through that is to be confident in the thing that you know, because you know this, right? And so when I first started speaking publicly, like coming to these webinars, etc., I used to get these real panic attacks, like these anxiety attacks, like, oh my God, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to say things and people are going to look at me like, you don't know what you're talking about. But then I had to keep reminding myself that actually, I don't know what I'm talking about. I know this. I stay in my lane and I talk about the things that I know. So you have to figure out, first of all, what do you know that you definitely know for sure that you know? You know it because you went to school for it. You know it because you researched it. It's a natural ability or talent that you have. It doesn't even matter how you've come by this skill, talent, whatever. You know that you have a certain level of competency, a high level of competency in this thing, and that's for sure, and you can prove it. Because show and tell is the name of the personal brand game, right? You can't just say you can, you have to show you can, right? What are my feature benefits? And if you look at a brand, and when they're marketing, they will say, well, this bottle of, what's this? This bottle of, this is a hot and cold thing for muscles. It relieves muscles. It makes you sleep better at night. It relieves headaches. You know, it's soothing. These are all the benefits of using this particular brand of pain relieving cream. This is what this is, right? Just as how brands with our businesses with products and services can tell you what the benefits are of those products and services, these are what we call feature benefits. You need to figure out, what are my feature benefits? In other words, what value do I add? Because yes, I'm going to come and I'm going to buy this, and that's great. But what's the value in me buying this particular thing? Why should I buy this thing over another thing that says it does the exact same thing? What's my value proposition. So I want to quickly look at Dr. Terry Carrell Reed's website in her About Me section, right? First of all, we're going to go over, what do I do? What am I good at, right? Let's talk about what Terry Carrell Reed is good at. If we go to her Work With Me section, what is she good at? She talks about hosting events, keynotes and panels, workshops, TV productions. So she's a host. Yeah, we know that she's an excellent host. We know that she can host TV. She can come on TV and talk and look nice and make sense. Yeah, she can hold a crowd. She has crowds wrapped when she speaks, when she's doing her hosting. She vibes it. Yeah. We know that she's good at speaking. She's an excellent speaker. Did you see her TED Talk? Excellent. So we know she's good at speaking. She's good at hosting, but she also teaches, right? She has workshops, all that good stuff, right? And so she knows what she's good at, and we can tell that she's good at what she's good at because we've seen her at it. So the show and the tell, she said it, and she has been able to prove it to us over and over and over again, which is why she's always booked. She's always booked, like at the biggest conferences. And first of all, if you know that our big conferences in Jamaica, chances are it's going to be Dr. Terry Carrell or a Debbie Bessoon or one of these kind of people. You know who the persons are, because they've established that authority. They've established themselves as the premier host, right? Speakers, right? Let's go back to her Get to Know Me, and let's kind of try to figure out some more things about Dr. Carrell, about what is her experiences, because your experiences will shape what you know. Right? So Dr. Terry Carrell is an actual doctor. Did you know that? She is a doctor of veterinary medicine that she studied in Cuba. But not only is she a doctor, she is a public relations executive. That is part of her experience. So she's a marketer. She is an online brand manager, which she did for Gleaner for quite some time. She's a digital marketing strategist, clearly. So just from her bio, we can kind of pick out some of these things, what her experiences are, what are the things that she used to do that forms the foundation of her knowledge, right? So these are some of the things that she's good at, that we know she's good at, that she knows. Let's look at the value that she adds, because yes, you can be a good speaker, you can be an excellent host, but can you speak several languages? Let's look at Dr. Terry Carrell in action. And Google Ad doesn't want us to be great. All right. Are you guys hearing? Are you guys hearing this? No? Okay, hold on. when I share, I want to share sound. So I'm going to share again.
Por parte de todo el mundo que está aquí, nosotros queremos decir que este
Let me start again. Are you guys hearing now?
My name is Terry Carell. It is a pleasure to be your MC for this afternoon. Y he observado todas las formalidades en inglés, entonces yo voy a hablar español, ¿está bien? Permítame dirigirme a los que hablan español. Bienvenida a Jamaica, bienvenida a este evento. Felicidades en lo que ustedes han hecho y lo que ustedes van a hacer por parte de todo el mundo que está aquí. Nosotros queremos decir que este aeropuerto internacional.
I'm not sure if you guys can hear, but she's actually speaking Spanish.
We're hearing.
You're hearing? Okay, good.
Importante para nosotros porque se representa la cultura, la patria, la gente, ¿no? Pero estamos muy seguros, con certeza, que ustedes lo van a mantener, manejar, mejorar y cuidar como si fuera suyo. Entonces, les deseo éxito. All right. I know everybody.
A round of applause. She got a round of applause for that. So, I was gonna say, anybody can be a host and can talk, but the feature benefits is what will allow or what would differentiate you from somebody else who does probably the same thing or something similar to what you do, right? And so Dr. Terry Carell here is demonstrating the added value that she brings to what it is that she does. She also speaks Mandarin, and there's an interesting story in our LinkedIn about how when she was hosting the Huawei event, she, of course, these persons are, I think, Chinese. They speak Mandarin, let's just put it that way. And on the way to the event, she learned how to say hello, hi, welcome in Mandarin. And it took everybody aback, and it kind of set the tone for the event, right? Because it's one thing to be able to talk to somebody, but to be able to talk to somebody in a language that they understand, and they know that you don't speak that language, but you made the effort to communicate with them in a language that they understand, added value. And that literally sent her stock price up, if you want to put it that way. That one act made her an even more valuable asset, or increased her value to potential clients, right? So you have to figure out how can you add value to the things that you do and what you know. Okay, let's look at component number 2. Oh, how do I add value? Right. Also, do you guys know who this lovely lady is? Who is this lady here? What do you guys know about Kalila Reynolds? Anybody recognize this lady here? What do you know about her? Nobody recognizes Kalila Reynolds? Really? Okay, well, Kalila Reynolds is an award-winning journalist. She was on Nationwide. She presented a very popular business segment on Nationwide. And Janelle says she often speaks about wealth and investing. Yes, but this is why Kalila Reynolds, why Kalila Reynolds is amazing is because Kalila Reynolds had a goal. She had a goal. She wanted to, she didn't want to talk about business. That kind of wasn't her thing. She wanted to talk about stocks and investing and finance and stuff. That's what she loved. That's what she loved talking about. She's not a financial advisor. She's not a financial advisor. That's a legal term with legal implications, but she does talk about finances and investing, etc. Right? That's what she wanted to talk about. So she came up with the idea to create some programs. She shopped it to her peoples at Nationwide. They didn't really do anything to it. She shopped it to TVJ. They didn't really touch it. CVM, no takers. And then she decided, well, why don't I just do it myself? actually? Why do I need to depend on other people to determine how I proceed with this thing? I'm just going to do it myself. And this is why, guys, it's so important.
I had a toddler and I was pregnant, and I launched a business.
Set goals and objectives. Because Kalila had an objective in mind. There's one thing that she wanted to do. And even when all the signs said, no, stop, go back, just build, stay nationwide, make your little money, build, do your little thing, you know. All the signs pointed to this thing not being successful. And she's like, no, I have a goal. I have a plan. This is what I want to do. And this is how I'm going to do it. And she set that out. And now Kalila Reynolds Media, in her first year, I think she's now in her second year. In her first year, she made $26 million. $26 million. Her company, Kalila Reynolds Media, made $26 million in her first year. Let's hear her talk about this.
At the same time, I had a toddler and I was pregnant, and I launched a business at the same time, and I had a full-time job. And it was, it's a lot. So I did all my work mostly at night. And on weekends, whatever free time I had. Somehow I managed to do it. I remember when I had the idea for taking stock, I wasn't pregnant yet, or at least I didn't know I was pregnant yet. And I had this great idea, and I was gung-ho about it, got all the graphics done, got video montages done, opening, closing. I had all the segments, had everything planned. Mm-hmm. And then bam, I'm pregnant again, even though it was planned, we had planned it, we were actively trying.
Right.
But then with that came all the morning sickness, and I just said, you know what, I'm not going to do this right now. Let me do this after the baby is born. And, after the first trimester passed and I started feeling better, I regained the energy. I said, strike while the iron is hot. The interest is there now. People want this information now. If I wait until baby's born, if I wait until next year, somebody else might do it,
Yeah.
And so I just went ahead and do it. And we launched when I was 6 months pregnant. Had my baby February of 2020. Trans-Jamaican Highway IPO came out the same weekend that Ryan was born. My show still went out. Did my last interview like the Friday. Ryan was born the Sunday. And the show still came out Monday as scheduled.
So even with all that, she had COVID. She got pregnant. People tell her no. All of these things happen. And because she was determined, she had her goals, she knew what her objectives was, she went about putting her plan together, and she was able to successfully launch her show on time. And now she is the number one, she's the go-to person now when it comes to conversations about wealth, building wealth, investment, finances, etc. Who else do you think about when you think about that except Kalila Reynolds? So the importance of setting goals is that it triggers new behavior, and it helps you to align your focus and promote a sense of self-mastery. Guys, a lot of personal branding comes from internal motivations. You have to be pushing yourself. You have to inspire yourself. You have to keep going forward, right? And setting goals will help you to do that. You can't manage what you don't measure, and you can't improve upon something that you don't properly manage. So when you're putting your goals and setting those objectives, especially when you're deciding to go online, you have to think, what is the end goal? What is the light at the end of this tunnel? Is it a big pile of money? What is the light at the end of this tunnel? Why am I going? Why do I want to go on this journey? What is that big thing that I want to achieve? The pie in the sky, right? What are the steps that am I going to have to take to get to that pot of gold? What are some of the steps that I'm going to have to take to get there, right? And how long will it take me to do that? Because this is the thing with setting goals. You can't set goals indefinitely. Your goals can't be indefinite. You have to be able to measure it, which means that you have to know if you are getting to those goals. You have to be specific about the goals to begin with. You have to be very clear. Your goals have to be very precise and exact. I wanted to launch taking stock. That's what I wanted to do. Very specific. I had a timeline and a goal that I'm setting to be able to launch this thing, and come hell or high water, it gonna happen, right? What are the steps I needed to take? I needed to interview people. I needed to set up my channels. I needed to have a script. I needed to do all of these things because the IPO was going to come out. And I thought that would be a really good time to launch because I could ride that wave. I could ride that momentum, right? How does Kalila know that she's getting towards a goal? Well, $26 million is a really good indicator that you're getting to that goal, right? How long will it take you? There has to be a time limit that you put on yourself for these things. Because if you have goals are indefinite, like your New Year's resolution, where you go, yeah, man, I want to lose some weight. And then 2 weeks later, you abandon it because, right? So if you were more specific and said, I want to lose 3 pounds in 3 months, you're giving yourself a timeline. You're putting some kind of restriction on yourself, putting some kind of urgency on yourself to motivate and push yourself. And then finally, how will I know when I get there? How do you know that you've arrived, that you make it? How do you know that, right? And so knowing what the steps are, knowing what the end goals are, knowing the time limit that you have to be able to say, okay, well, if in 3 months time, I need to be able to have this. In 6 months time, I need to have done this. In 4 months time, I need to have done this. That's how you know, because you have growth spurts. And once you hit all these growth limits, you add another growth limit and you hit that growth limit, and you add another growth limit and you hit that growth limit. That's how you know that you're getting to where you're needing to go. And guys, it's going to take a lot of planning and strategy and tweaking and coming back and retweaking and fixing, because it's never smooth, it's never linear, it's never just one time and go unless you're really lucky, right? So prepare for bumps in the road, prepare for disappointments and setback. But if you're like a Kalila, nothing gonna stop your shine, and you're going to get where you need to get regardless of what the situations are. So built into that strategy and plan has to be some kind of flexibility. It has to give you the ability to pivot, right? Let's look at component number 3, becoming visible online. This is Yenny Phillips, and I'm not even going to ask you guys if you know who Yenny Phillips is, because Yenny Phillips is former Miss Jamaica. She did great at the Miss World. Is it Miss World? I want to say Miss World competition. She's a supermodel, all that good stuff. Beautiful, lovely hostess, all that great stuff, right? But Yenny Phillips decided that she wanted to do a particular thing, right? Out of all the other things that she has achieved, that's great. But she, after all that success, she now wants to build a personal brand, because as I said to you before, being popular doesn't mean you have a personal brand. This is where the work to build Yenny Phillips's personal brand began, and it began on YouTube. That's where it began. Because even though you knew who she was before, you know she modeled, but what else did you know about her? Not much. What was she good at? Walking down a runway. You never really know much about her. And so she started the work to build her personal brand, becoming visible in a different way. Not visible because you already knew her before, but visible for her expertise, visible for what she can do, right? Because the more message needs to change a behavior or win over the hearts and minds of the people that you're talking to, the more likely it is that you're going to have to deliver that message face-to-face. And what do I mean by face-to-face or using your face-to-face channel? I mean video. You cannot hide behind images or words, not in 2022, you can't. Because video is where it's at in 2022. Or audio, but mostly video, right? And so Yenny decided that I wanted to be able to talk to people and share their experiences and motivate and inspire people. And so she started a YouTube channel for her show called Odyssey, right? When you're thinking about becoming visible online. This is the awareness part. People knowing who you are, seeing who you are. You have to think about who do you want to see you? Who are the people that your message is for? Who are you talking to? Who are, and it depends. Are you going online because you want to be headhunted, or you want to put yourself in a position where you can be seen by a human resource manager or the boss at a company that you've always wanted to work for? Or do you want to be a free agent, which means that you're doing this thing for yourself? Because you can be a personal brand within an organization. It's called, or even building your own business within an organization. It's called being an entrepreneur, right? Or do you want to be a free agent where you determine your own destiny, you determine where your brand goes, you determine all that stuff, you have complete control over your time? Depending on which avenue or route you take is going to determine who sees you. It's all about who sees you, right? Or who you want to be seen by. And what do they want to know, hear, or feel? And we can't leave out the feelings part, guys, because we're dealing with human beings, and it's all about your emotion, right? It's all about emotion. In branding, in marketing, emotions, that's where perceptions and opinions are formed from, right? A little bit of facts mixed in with a lot of emotions. So what do they want to know that I can teach them? What do they want to hear that I can say in a particular way that it will reach them? And how do I make them feel? These things are important. And then where do they hang out online? Because you're talking to them online, you're directing your message online. Where do they hang out online? And what's the best way to deliver the value that I have? Is it a TikTok 1 minute video? Is that enough time? Is that the best format to be able to deliver that message? Or is it like Wendy, where you need a 1 hour show on YouTube to be able to fully express your expertise, to fully say those things that they want to hear, or tell them the things, or show them the things that they want to see or know, or to be able to evoke a particular emotion in them? Do you need more than a minute to be able to do that? Then you need to choose the right communication channel and the right format to be able to deliver the value, right? Yendi Phillips in her YouTube About Me page says that this space that she created here is a motivation and aspirational space to shed light and knowledge for those who visit. So who is our audience? Persons who are self-motivators, persons who are looking for personal inspiration from others, who takes others' experiences and turns that into motivation and inspiration for themselves. Persons who are interested in personal development. They want to develop themselves, professional development. They want to develop themselves professionally. And the people that she talks to are all accomplished in their own right. There's something special or unique about them. These are all personal brands she's talking to, right? So this is a personal brand talking to other personal brands, and they're telling her how they were able to do this thing, that thing, and what made them successful. And if you're somebody who likes to hear the stories of others and who draws inspiration from that, this is the channel for you, which is why she has now got her YouTube plaque with her over 100,000 followers. Big up herself, right? And so this is how she was able to become visible online for more than, oh, she was Miss Jamaica. Now you know that there's some depth to her. Now you know that she has another set of ability and skill that you can benefit from, right? And that's a part of becoming visible online. It's not just being seen, but it's what people want to know, hear, feel, finding them where they are and delivering value, right? Component number 4, establishing your authority. And there's this another lovely lady here. Her name is Naomi Gary. She's a PR specialist, but more than anything else, she's a personal branding coach. And Naomi has been doing some things in the last couple of years, couple of months, that has the PR personal branding world shooked, right? Because Naomi Gary, who is already a well-established person in the PR space, she has her own company, Gary Communications, very successful, is over 10 years old. She's been doing the damn thing for a while, right? But now she's stepped it up a notch, right? And not only is she establishing her authority locally, she's gone international, right? Which is amazing. So if your business is about you, which is what personal brands are, your personal brand is the business of you, right? Then it's essential that you look for ways to stand out against the competition, because since COVID, a lot of people running on the online space, and now we have more digital marketers than we had before, and now we have more brand specialists than we had before, all that good stuff, right? Not knocking anybody hustle. So now there's more competition in this space. Now, how does someone like Naomi Gary, and you think, well, she's a veteran in this space, people already know her, so she can relax, she can rest on her laurels? No, she can't. No, she can't, because competition is competition, right? And so remember, we talked about having to maintain that position. Naomi went from PR specialist to personal branding coach. So she niched down. And what do we mean by niche down? So the industry is marketing. That's a big, wide industry. Within that industry, you have sub-industries. So there's marketing, then you have digital marketing, and then you have persons within digital marketing who are SEO specialists, who are website specialists, social media specialists, content marketing specialists. A lot of specializations can happen in particular industries, right? But if you can find your niche, find that one little area, small little grouping within that massive market, you can make a lot of money. Because if you establish yourself in that particular niche and you become the go-to person in that niche, and then you don't have a lot of competition in that niche, it's just you're the big fish in that pond, right? And so Naomi found her niche, which is really personal branding, right? And then what some of the other things that she decided to do was plug the gaps. What is not happening in this space that I'm in? Well, nobody was publishing books in that space. Nobody was really doing workshops and training and building courses in that space. So Naomi started writing books. She's now an author. Talk to her nice. She's now an author. She has authored, what, 3 books already? 2 books already? She has workbooks and all sorts of excitement. And she offers a wide range of courses to corporate entities and to individuals. She even has her own event ready to emerge, right? And so she found where the gaps were and she plugged those gaps. And this is what we call the gap analysis. In marketing, we call it a gap analysis, where you're looking around in your industry to find where the spaces are that are not yet occupied, but are in demand. And then figuring out if you have the skills and expertise to plug those gaps. And she did. And because of that, she was able to build credibility in the space. And by building credibility in the space, we mean because she's out there talking and people are getting results from what she's saying, it's building trust, right? And what's more, she has won the trust of her peers. Let's look at that. Naomi has won the trust of her peers. So let's look at the work with me. So she does customized coaching, she does interactive workshops, she has workbooks on Amazon. As I say, talk to her nice. She has online courses, and more than anything else, we're talking about winning the trust of your peers. She's also a speaker. I've been to several events where Naomi was a speaker, but look at the people that said nice things about her. Winsome Callum from JPS, she's the director of corporate communications, big job. Travis Gordon, Sagicor. Rashima Kelly, brand marketing manager at Digicel Jamaica, big things, right? But let's look at let me try to pull up. Let me try to pull up Naomi Gary on LinkedIn, because I want to show you some of the persons who have endorsed her and who have recommended her, because these persons are her peers, right? So if we go down here and we look at endorsements and recommendations, Ryan Simmons, but look who it is, Dr. Terry Carell. It's her contemporary, it's her peer, right? And so being able to win over your peer and win the trust of your peer can also help you to establish your credibility as well, because now you're having other people in the space who knows what they're talking about as it relates to a topic that is similar or an industry. They're in the industry, they know what they're talking about, and they know that you know what they're talking about because they know what it is that you're talking about, and they're saying, yeah, she knows what she's talking about. It doesn't get better than that. It doesn't get better than other people who also knows what you're talking about saying, yeah, actually, she's right. She's absolutely right, and she knows what she's talking about. So this is how you establish your authority. And the two quickest ways to do that is to publish, whether you're publishing a book, you're publishing a YouTube series, you're publishing a podcast, publish, a blog, articles, newsletter, publish, right? You need to start talking or writing, excuse me. And the second thing you need to do is teach. You need to start teaching. Sharing the knowledge that you have is another way of establishing your authority in the space. And Naomi is doing both. She's a published author and she's an educator, right? And the last thing is to build your network. This gentleman here, this very handsome fellow, his name is Joel Darkham. Don't know how many of you know Joel Darkham, but in the world of marketing in Jamaica, Joel Darkham is the it guy. He is the moment, right? What Joel has been able to do and why he is the moment is because he has been able to build a very solid community of to include his peers, right? And he has been able through his community to form networks, strengthen networks, develop new networks that he has leveraged to advance his career. And as a personal brand, that is extremely important for you to do. Joel is an artist, and what is his art? The ability to develop connections. Same like Dr. Terry Carell, right? Their ability to establish and create connections is an art form that they've both mastered. Because this is the thing. People need to like you. These people that you're forming networks with and building connections with, they need to like you. And we can say anything we want to say. And you can be as great as you want to be. You can know everything. And if people don't like you, you're not going to go very far. And it's the truth of the situation. If people don't like you, you're not going to go anywhere with them. And they're not going to help you get anywhere. So they have to like you. They have to understand what you do. They have to trust your expertise. And so at the right time, if they're in a position where they can recommend you for an opportunity, they will jump at the opportunity to recommend. In fact, they will go, actually, I think we should have a webinar. And these are the people I think we should have there because I think they're great. Sometimes they will go as far as to create these opportunities for you, right? And so what you need to do is be your most authentic self. Joel, aka Corp Centric, is his most authentic self. He's colorful, he's loud, he's vibrant, he's knowledgeable, and he presents himself as what he is, and he's unapologetic about it. So you have to bring your authentic self because that's why people like you. That's why people understand you. If you're disingenuous and fake, it's not hard. It's not hard because you can't be consistent and fake at the same time, right? So there has to be that consistency that can only come about when you are your authentic self. That authentic self will attract your tribe, the people who like you, your community. That authenticness, the authentic awesomeness will attract people to you. And you can form communities from those persons. And then you're developing those communities. So these people are attracted to you. How do you nurture these new relationships that you're building with these people who are, you know, attracted to what you have to say and to your personality? Because you have to build the trust factor, and there's a loyalty factor that only can come through the trust factor, which can only come through consistency, which can only come through authenticity. See where I'm going? And then lastly, you need to leverage who you know to know more people to create opportunities. So the people in your community can be leveraged to create opportunities, as well as you never know who knows who, right? And if you put yourself in a position where people like you, people trust you, they're going to want to introduce you to their circles. And you never know who's in that circle and who in that circle can create opportunities for you. So you're leveraging who you know because you're building these strong relationships. You're building these communities because you're being your authentic self, right, guys? So building your network, developing your community, that's one of the steps that you need to take to build a successful brand. So guys, ask me any question. It's a Q&A time, and I'll give you my best answer. Do we have any questions, guys? Any questions for me? I'm gonna stop sharing. Anybody has any questions about anything I would have said about personal branding? Is there anything I didn't say that you want to ask about? Any of you here already on the journey to starting your personal brand? Let me see your hands. Any of you here already on your journey to starting your personal brand? No? Okay, I'll take that as a no.
No, you have Janelle Fuller raised her hand.
Oh, I'm not seeing the raised hand, sorry. All right, so Diana Mendez says, in starting a business, how do you seek out your competitor and find ways to ensure that if you both are on the same path, you stand out? So in starting a business, how do you seek out your competitor? Easy, Google. Go on social media. So you see, this is the thing, guys, and I tell my students this all the time, and they're like, really? I'm like, really? Anything you need to find out about anything, Google it. Google it. Go on social media. So if it is that you want to start, say you want to start a little business where you're, what is the business that you want to start, Diana? Say you want to start a little business where you're making slippers. You know, Bridget is the slippers maker. She's the sandals queen, right, in Jamaica. But you have similar skills. You kind of want to do something similar. How do you know? Well, you're going to go on and you're going to literally Google sandals maker Jamaica. You put in the keywords, which is sandals making, and the geographic location, Jamaica, and Google will tell you who in Jamaica is associated with sandals making. That's one way you can find your competitor. You can do the same thing on social media platforms. Social media platforms allow you to search using keywords or key terms or phrases. So if you go in IG and you type in sandals making Jamaica, that will pull up information as well. And the other part of the question is, how do you, if you are both on the same path, how do you ensure that you stand out? Well, as I said, in terms of differentiating yourself, you have to find out what are your feature benefits and how do you add value. What are the benefits of your, what are the characteristics and the traits that make you different to your competitor? And then you amplify that. You have to amplify that. So is it that you are making slippers that is 100% goat hair, organic slippers from the Sea of Croatia? You know, that's special, right? What are the things that make you stand out and different and special, and then amplifying that to your audience, right? So you want to start an internet cafe and homework center. Well, one of the things you can look at too is, remember we talk about gaps. Are there any homework centers and internet cafes in your community, in your neighborhood, in your town? If there are other internet cafes and homework center, are they functional? Do they have steady Wi-Fi? Are they clean? Do they have professionals who can help students with homework? Do they have like homework sessions with students? What are the gaps? What are the things that are missing in the space that your expertise can fill, right? I know of none in my area. Oh, well, then but I want to make sure I'm doing the right thing. Well, this is what you do. We're always afraid to ask questions, but guys, how you know, one of the best ways to figure out what the audience that you're targeting wants is to ask them. Go around your neighborhood and ask the kids, the parents in the neighborhood, if they would be interested in an internet cafe and homework center, how much they would pay for this, because I'm sure there's some exchange of value involved where you're giving them something and in exchange they're paying you for that service, right? What are the services that they would want at that homework center? When are the likely hours that they would drop their kids off at the homework center? So this is information that would be useful to you. Ask, because the parents are going to be the one who makes the decisions. But then you ask the children, what are some of the fun things that you like to do? How do you learn? What are some of the fun ways I can help you to learn, right? Or I can help you with your homework? Or what are some of the things that you want to see or you would want to see in this kind of space? Ask them these questions. They will give you an honest answer. And these are things, because now you have quantitative and qualitative research doing, right? And so you can use that to build an effective strategy. Also, if you are new to an industry, you have to make sure that you study that industry, that you understand that industry at an above average level. Because if you don't understand that in industry in some meaningful, substantive way, then you're going to have a problem, especially because with industries, you have intricacies that will determine whether or not you succeed or you fail. If you don't know what those intricacies are, ask persons who already have had experience doing this thing. Find a mentor. Ask persons who have already had these experiences and say, hey, I know you started an internet cafe. How did that work out for you? What are some of the things that you did? What didn't work for you? What advice would you give me? Don't be afraid to ask. Open your mouth and ask. Okay? Any other questions? Natisha says she wants to start her personal brand and she have a sad face. Why do you have a sad face? The best time to start is now. Now is the best time to start. Start putting your plan together. What do I know that I know? What am I good at? What are the gaps? How can I fill them? Where do I need to be? Who do I need to see me? What do they want to see? Right? All those things. It's never too late to actually start building, even while you're in school. Even while you are in school, you can start building your personal brand while you are in school. Right? You don't have to wait until you are finished. There is this, and her name is slipping me at the moment, but she's, her mother is Jamaican, and she started a book drive, and that book drive has swelled into an entire global movement, right? And she's now donating books left and right, and she have centers, and she's now an editor for Teen, I think it's Teen Vogue, if I'm not mistaken. Marley, thank you, Marley, right? She started her personal brand from she was a kid, right? So it's never too early. And this is another thing too. As parents, if there are any parents here, I would urge you to help your children from early start to figure out what are the things they're good at. There's this Jamaican, his name is Dominic Darby. Dominic Darby is 11. And Dominic Darby has won global competitions as a games developer. You know why? His mother said when he was younger, she realized that he's not that they just like the computer. There's clearly a special interest in the computer. And she was able to nurture that interest. She bought the books he needed. There's YouTube videos that she made him watch, because you have to monitor your kids on YouTube. She found other resources. She put him in all sorts of different workshops and stuff. And now at 11, he's a world champion games developer, winning how much hundreds of thousands of US dollars. Right? So you have to nurture the skills and the talents in your children from now and help them kind of figure out what these things are. Now, we're not saying you need to be, a overseer for your children where you're beating them over the head every minute. What do you want to do? What do you want to do? Because for sure, a lot of children don't know what that is. A lot of adults don't even know what they want to do. But if you pay enough attention, you can see, you can pick up on certain things. What are the talents that your children have and the things that they're interested in? And as best as possible, you try to nurture that. Their minds will change, but you're building skills anyway. And those skills are invaluable, or will be invaluable to them the more those skills grow and develop, right? Any other questions, guys? Any other questions? If there are no other questions, I thank you guys so much for having me, for listening to me ramble on. Diana says, thank you. I'll start asking around. And I do know someone who had an intake in Cafe. There you go. He was pretty successful before he migrated. That's the best person to ask, because you're not his competition. He's not even here. So you can ask him and he'll probably tell you, because he's not even here. So there's no competition there. It got me on my feet for sure. Okay, that's great, Janelle. Thank you guys so much. Over to you, Mrs. Dwyer.
Oh, so brand CCJ is smiling. I'm here representing that brand this afternoon. And in the spirit of adjectival phrases, my vivacious, dynamic, enthusiasm. Kadia, you shell it. I am using the colloquial expression because I like your ability to code switch. The fact that you were able to, in your 5 components of a successful personal brand, dare us, your acronym there, so I'm using it up. But in the spirit of girl boss, your first component, which you missed but I got, was that you made the ultimate girl boss move by paying credence to your fellow girl boss. Applause. I have to give you that, because we don't celebrate each other a lot. And in building network, so you can build your net worth, it is paying credence. And though you started out by saying the script would be similar, my God, this shows dynamism. And you answered a question that was asked earlier, whether or not people can coexist if they have the same brand. And you epitomized that a while ago. Can you imagine? So you're here not just speaking, but you're doing. These are some takeaways that came out of your presentation, which I really want to highlight. You spoke about the alignment, and I like that you utilize this case study model. That case study model where you were able to align all of these people that we know is the ultimate teacher in constructivism at work, through the experiential learning, because the truth is that we can read, but when we can identify the persons that are there, and I know that's what you are going for, and you won. You won. So that was good. I also like when you said that your experience will shape what you know all the time, and that is your starting point. And when you spoke about a feature benefit, which was distinguishing oneself, because we were taught to say that we don't toot our horns, but if we don't do it, then who will? Who will? And you also spoke about the alignment and the focus and the self-mastery. And I want to congratulate you, because you're one of the pandemic success I spoke about, because I saw that in 2020, that's when your business really thrived. And the truth is that you were even recognized before I recognized as a moderator you were on, because I kept asking, who was Digital Disruption Agency? So even inherent in your name, you brought about your branding, prolific, dynamic. And I can attest that our students as well as our staff, they really got a good taste of how to really sell oneself, because sometimes persons are afraid to really talk about themselves and to put them out there. So you dared us, and now we dare to do some of those things. And CCJ wants to thank you for that. And I had said that we are on the trajectory of our 20th anniversary, and we wanted to be aligned to industry standards. I think I spoke about that before. We're missing that alignment where we need to get our people to speak to our young people so they know that there is a possibility, because the negative is there. So if they're always alluding to that, then they can't see the persons who are making strides. And so I dare you to add your photograph to that slide that you presented. Marvelous. Thank you so much. We look forward. We have other activities that we are going to be doing, and I'm sure Mr. McIntosh will be getting in touch with you. And I thank you on behalf of the CCCJ.
Appreciate it.
Girl boss move. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. So that was so spirited. And what came out of what Kadia represented, it brought me back to something that Maya Angelou spoke about. She said, if you are always trying to be normal, you'll never know how amazing you can be. But now we know, because we have two persons that presented that would have given us the charge to go forth. And we're really, I can't reiterate how much at the CCJ we're thankful. But in our mission, we do speak to collaboration, and we do speak a lot to getting industry standards. And that is why our courses are impinged and embedded in applied learning. And so you got a taste of that. We'll now invite Mr. Jason McIntosh to give some closure and feedback. And I'll await Mr. McIntosh before I give my closing remarks. And I want to say to the participants too that you are a part of this interchange that really brought on the fun. Thank you. Mr. McIntosh?
Thank you so much, Mrs. Gray-Dwyer. Ms. Francis, what a electrifying presentation. Thank you so much for coming. I really don't want to be adding much after all that has been said here today. And so I'm just here to just extend my gratitude to our presenters and all our participants for coming online. I also want to extend gratitude to our Executive Director, Dr. Donna Powell-Wilson, for trusting me in leading this task. Mrs. Gray Dwyer, you have done an awesome job, a fantastic job at moderating our session today, and I am forever grateful. I also had a team working with behind the scenes, Miss Clayton James and Miss Kristen Vassell. They have aided in ensuring that today is a success. And for everyone here at the CCCJ who would have supported in whatever way, shape, or form, I thank you so much, participants. Without you being here today, then certainly today would not have been a success. And I trust and hope, ladies, that these purposeful and powerful nuggets that have been given and fed to you today, I trust and hope that you will use them and apply them as you move forward in becoming that girl boss in this new information age, in this metaverse. Just before I close, I just want to bring your attention to the chat. I would have placed a link there for an evaluation. I'm asking you kindly to complete same. Thank you so much, Mrs. Gray Dwyer. It's over to you.
Thank you, Mr. McIntosh. Amazing times ahead. And my job here is pretty much finished. I just want to let you know, for way of information, that we continue with several, a multiplicity of activities to celebrate the work of the CCJ. And it's our 20th anniversary. And we have upcoming our conference, and this is going to be another stopper. So I won't say much about it because we want you to look forward to what is to come. And we're talking about how our educational system would have transformed since the COVID-19 pandemic, and some of the new ways of doing things, hybrid models included, and a lot of other presentations that we'll be making, as well as we'll have our member colleges participating, as well as persons who are in other industries. And moreover, we are expecting other stakeholders to come on board. Mr. McIntosh, I want to congratulate you on this project. It was well executed, and I'm happy that we were able to accomplish this feat. And excellence, nothing less. And I just want to close by saying, I am not negotiating my value with anyone. I am worth it, been worth it, will forever be worth it. We're girl bosses, and we should now go and disrupt narratives. Thank you so much. Like I said before, we're looking forward to your participation in the other initiatives, and we will have those posted on our website. So you can visit our website. It is CCCJ. You can just type that in Google. Katie told you about the great Google and what can happen, and you will see some of our upcoming activities. Job well done. Congratulations, CCJ. Happy 20th. You're out of the teens, and today marked that prolific movement into new endeavors. Good afternoon, and I have been your moderator, Andrea Gray Dwyer. Take care and Godspeed.